All right, guys, let's get right into the episode. So, for today, let's talk about role transitions, and I'm going to call it like breaking free, and or breaking out. Either way, it's kind of similar, but there are times in life where we change and we're growing and we learn new things. And during those times, we might need to act differently. We might want to associate with people differently. We might want to take consistent action in life differently. I've heard this before by actually Tony Robbins. He talks about changing your standards to change your life. So a lot of times, as we're learning, as we're growing, as we learn new things, our standards in life change. The way we behave changes. The way we want to act changes. So internally, I talked about alignment in a different episode. There's a discrepancy between what we believe and think and speak and how we are acting. And so when there is a discrepancy within those parts of what we believe and how we are acting, that creates dissonance within us. And if we are part of a group, a family, a group of friends, and we start to transition, it's important to understand how to break free, how to speak to other people in a way that they can feel comfortable with the change. So a very solid example of this was when I started to take my health more seriously in college and then after college. And, this has been a constant struggle with me because I've always tried to work on my nutrition. I've always tried to work on my exercise regimen. I've always wanted to really focus on personal care. So in college, I decided to drink a lot less, and I decided to do things like juice and make smoothies and improve my nutrition. But around that time, some of my roommates, their habits weren't always very good. When we'd go out, it was always revolving around partying and drinking. There's nothing wrong with partying, but excessive alcohol use for me was something that was really difficult to struggle. I struggled with because I knew how bad it was when it came to exercise and maintaining strength, right? So during those times, I had to have a breakthrough period where essentially I had to talk to the people I was close with and say, look, guys, I'm going to go out tonight, but I'm not going to drink. And I had to set that boundary, set that standard for myself, that it was okay for me to go to party and enjoy the weekends, but that I wasn't going to drink alcohol because I wanted to maintain my strength. And that was really important to me, right? So as I started to learn more about health and nutrition, as an example, I had this breakout period. I had to have the mental change, the desire to change, the motivation to change, but then I had to do the conversational piece to the people that were important to me or that could affect my behavior, right? And once I had that conversation a few times and noticed that I really wanted to do that, then I was able to then break free and do my thing, and I wasn't being judged for it anymore. It tends to be more of an issue as we're younger because there's a lot more judgmental thinking, egoic thinking in people who haven't really matured yet. So immature people tend to judge you for what you want or what you want to go for. Mature people tend to be cool with it and are okay with changes because they understand that people change. So I mention this because as you start to work on your personal development, of course, if you're listening to this episode, you are interested in personal development. You want to change, you want to grow, you want to do better in life. And if that's the case, you will go through awkward periods of time where you're growing, but your family members, your friends, whomever are not growing with you. They're not changing their mindset. They're not having a growth mindset. They're not having a positive mindset. And it gets super awkward when you're growing and they're not, and they're close to you. And all of a sudden your behaviors are changing, your actions are changing, your energy is changing because you feel internally better. And yet other people around you are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting different? Who are you? So how do we manage this break-free breakout period? Well, I would say step one is to acknowledge that you've changed your standard. If internally you've changed your standard of how you act, behave, believe, and speak and all of those things, then you need to know that cognitively in your mind that you're changing your standard of how you're going to act. And number two, you got to follow through and start acting. You have to act in accordance with how you've changed. Right? So whatever mindset shift, for me, it was to drink less, right? Or to not drink at all during parties or what have you, right? So I set that standard. Now I have to act in accordance to that. Once you're starting to act in accordance to that, you have to speak in accordance to that to all of the individuals who are naysaying you or putting you down. You're saying, look, this is what I do now. I mean, this is who I am. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me feel better. And as such, if you truly love me, if you truly appreciate me, let me grow. Let me be this person that wants to grow and be better. And quite frankly, sometimes if you're in a toxic relationship or you have toxic friends, or you have people that really honestly don't believe you, they believed a part of you, a story about you, but they didn't believe in you as a person, and they don't want to engage with you anymore. Well, that's the tough part about change. It's tough part about growth. As we change, again, life is changing, relationships change, and certain people that were good for us previously might not be good for us anymore. As our mindset changes about something, things might not fit anymore. So it's the speaking part is really important. And if you really do appreciate the person, say, look, this is my behavior now. This is how I do things. Yes, I've changed this action, but I still want to hang out with you. I still want to spend time with you. A lot of times on the other hand, the reason why people are afraid of your growth, afraid of the change, is they feel like that change means that you are pulling away from them. So it's really important to reaffirm the strength of the relationship. Say, look, I still love you guys. Like, for example, changing drink. Look, I still love you guys. I still want to go out, whatever. But I'm just not going to drink as much because this is really important to me. And I think if anyone, like my friends, understood that, they were cool with it, right? So whatever it is for you guys, I bring this up as an example. If you are on a personal development change, if you're going through role transitions, whatever, you will have to have these conversations to explain to people where you're at, explain to people, where you're coming from. And you don't always have to explain yourself, but if there are relationships you want to keep and maintain and have them understand, you got to have the break free moment. You have to have that conversation. You have to be open to your true self and where you're at and what you actually want instead of what you're acting like you want. You need to break free from the mindset that you can't change. Yes, you can change. Everyone changes, and you have to have the conversation. So my 3 tips for this are: number 1, understand the standard you're changing. It's a behavioral change usually. Number 2, act in accordance with that. And number 3, speak in accordance with that and follow through. So I guess the 4th tip or bonus tip there is have the conversation. 3 is speaking about it, right? But, really you have to have the conversation. You have to have the conversation, speaking about the new standard and then speaking with the people in which that standard might affect them, your friends, your family, your loved ones. You have to have that break-free moment, and you got to claim it, because in life you have to change. That's how we grow. That's how we get better. And when people start to see the results of your change and when they actually believe it, you might get a lot of resistance early on with the change, because they might not like the fact that you're changing, that, you're spending less time with them or what have you. But when they see the results, they'll be impressed and they're going to start to ask you questions. So believe in the dream, believe in the change, believe in what you're doing, especially most importantly, when you're growing, and don't let people hold you back from your personal growth. I hope that was helpful for today. And my ask of you is to utilize this information. Be the change, literally think it, change the standard, act in accordance with that change, and speak the change, and be your highest self possible, because the world needs you. I truly mean that. This is the happy doc, and I think to make the happy world that we want, we got to be more fulfilled, and that's to do that, we need to live in alignment. So break free, do your thing, and speak to those who you care about. Much love, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.